Bottom line is, mate, they're not like me. They haven't been what I've been through. They haven't, you know, done what I've done. They haven't suffered the trauma I've suffered. They haven't been in situations I've been in. And I haven't been in none of theirs. You know, we're cut from different cloth. If you look at them, they've all had wealth for a long, long time. Some of them were fed with a spoon. I was eating with my fingers. There is a difference, you know. A big difference, trust me. When you've got a kid who hasn't got all the best clothes at Christmas, but everyone else is on the estate. When you've got all them other kids going home for a Christmas dinner, but you're just on cheese on toast. There's a difference what you're coming through. There's a different battle going on between me and them who's getting all what every kid should get, basically. There's a different struggle, different environments, different outcomes. All them that are getting the Christmas dinners probably wouldn't end up in prison. The ones who don't get the Christmas dinners probably end up in prison. It's that easy. Don't let anyone tell you any different, lad. It's easy to make up. Young Freeman, escalations in crime. From that to that. Who influenced that young man's mind? What made him behave like that? All of a sudden from there to there. Who encouraged it? What was his rewards if it would have came off? Do you understand what I'm saying? He's very lucky Mr. Roberts never died. Because that kid would be doing a 35 rep right now. No ifs or buts. And there'd be a lot more people locked up with him. The fact that it wasn't a murder takes away the potency of the investigation, if you like. The strength of the investigation. So for example, someone gets shot but they survive, the investigation's okay. It is what it is. Attempted murder, section 18, whatever. A murder, the potency in that investigation, it's very strong. Full team on it, straight away. No stone unturned. Every name that's mentioned out of any mouth is getting spoken to. Doesn't matter how irrelevant you think. If you mention anyone's name in an investigation, they're getting spoken to by the feds. Just to make sure they cannot unturn one single lie out of any one of us who get involved. I know that from experience. It is what it is. Choose a life, not a knife. There's going to be more examples that I'll latch onto like that one. You know, young men caught up, taking the life of a powerful young dad. He might have been whatever, or he could have been whatever, but the bottom line was he was a father looking after his kids and his family. He had a young kid popping up. I'm not on about the Mr. Roberts situation there. That was beforehand. Before all that madness, they were getting up to madness. It is what it is. I think you've heard me say before. These kids that are running around, a bit scared, involved in them little groups on your estates, the gangs and all this, they carry knives. 12, 13, 14, they're thinking about carrying knives. Why? Because the elders are carrying knives. But their elders inspire to carry guns. And that's the progression here. And what you're seeing now is you're going, young teenagers that used to carry knives now have to keep up with the flow, have to fit in. They need to get themselves a better weapon. And that's how it works, and it's become very dangerous. The gunmen are getting younger. The gunmen are being used and manipulated because they are younger. You know, the majority of some, not the majority, but I'm saying a good handful of the murders in the last 10 years in the city of Liverpool have been from under 21s. It's been men under 21s committing them offences. Game kids, that's what they looked at. He's gaming. Wow, have him doing madness. That's what it's like. It's not, we'll look after him, we'll give him this, we don't want this kid going to jail, we want him and his family to get out of the game, he's got a heart, we'll use that heart for something different. It's not that. It's this kid's going to jail anyway. Let's just get what we can out of him. We'll do whatever we can on him, and that's it. And because you're that game and you think you're a little soldier and you think you're one of the boys now because you're running around getting a little bit of name of yourself, you just get lost. And when you come two on top, they go off. Some of them set you up. Don't get it twisted, because you're that game, they don't let you go until you're fully burnt out. Sometimes, because you know too much, it's in their own interest to just see you later with the new one that's coming. Depending on how far you've climbed because of your violence and your stupidness. Toxic friendship of stupid gun thugs who are paying a heavy price. Two close friends who thought nothing of roaming the streets of Highton, carrying loaded guns, and now reaping the grim rewards of their thuggish lifestyles. On Monday, Rueben Murphy, 26, began a life sentence for the murder of dad of two Patrick Boyle, shot twice in the chest as he stood chatting with friends in New Way, Highton, on July the 1st, 2022. Murphy was handed a 31 minimum term at Liverpool Crown Court and will be in his late 50s before he even a slim chance of parole. Drug dealer Murphy's efforts to cover his tracks were so poor he cycled back to his own home after the shooting and left a pair of black gloves sprayed with gunshot residue and containing traces of DNA profile on top of the kitchen cupboard for police to find. His recklessness and incompetence were perhaps surpassed by his friend and fellow street thug James Freeman only 6 weeks earlier. Freeman, 24, is already behind bars for tracking rival Crewch Alan Roberts to the Old Bank pub in Mage Moss, armed with a loaded pistol on May the 17th last year. However, Freeman's plot backfired spectacularly when he was disarmed by convicted Robert Alan Roberts, who shot Freeman twice in the chest with his own gun, despite suffering a minor gunshot wound to his groin in the process. Freeman was jailed for 14 and a half years in February after admitting with intent and possessing a firearm with intent to endanger life. The two friends who had links to lethal weapons, brazen thuggery and staggering stupidity dates back to their teens. The pair were first jailed for another dim-witted firearms offence committed on April 29, 2015, when Murphy, then 19, cycled up to a police officer with a loaded gun in his pocket. His own lawyer had claimed his client would have to be an extremely stupid villain to approach a policeman while carrying a weapon. However, a judge concluded that was exactly what he did, leading to Murphy and his partner in crime, 17-year-old Freeman, being arrested. Liverpool Crown Court said a covert police officer had been watching Murphy and Freeman cycling around in Highton on the day of the incident. Murphy, who was wearing a distinctive grey North Face jacket, had covered his face in scarf so he couldn't be recognised, boldly approached the undercover officer who was sitting in a car near the teens' home in Barkbeth Road. Murphy asked the officer, "Are you following me?" and when questioned what he meant, replied, "You're a busy." He and Freeman cycled away, but just 20 minutes later, police raided Murphy's house. There in his kitchen, they found the jacket he had been wearing with a loaded gun in its pocket. A magazine attached to the 8mm Bruni semi-automatic pistol had 9 live rounds inside, with a 10th inside a gun's chamber. Mad. Murphy was arrested at the scene while Freeman, who tried to run from the house, was caught nearby. Murphy told police he bought the gun for £50 and claimed it was an imitation firearm, only later to accept it was a modified rebore which had been drilled out. Murphy stood trial in January 2016. He admitted possessing the gun and ammunition, but denied the more serious offences of possessing with the intent to endanger life. Prosecutors allege he had the gun, ready to be fired at and squeezed of the trigger. Philip Asprey told jury that the gun was good to go, adding it couldn't, you may think, have been more ready to be used on the streets of the city. Murphy chose not to give evidence in that trial. His barrister Geoffrey Lowe suggested no interference or conclusion could be drawn as to why he had the gun, and argued the jury couldn't be sure he had intent to endanger life. Mr Lowe also questioned the logic of any suggestion his client may have had the gun in his pocket when he approached the policeman, who did not see any weapon. He said he must be an extremely stupid villain to go up to somebody who is a police officer with a weapon in his pocket. For all he knew, the officer might do something. Jurors cleared Murphy of the more serious charges, prompting him to jump up and down in the dock. He shouted, "That's all I need to wear," while family members screamed yes in the public gallery. However, when he locked him up for 5 years, Judge Andrew Hatton said he was sure Murphy had the gun on him when on the bike. He said, "You have one previous conviction for possession of a bladed article, which shows you're prepared to go out on the streets of Merseyside with a weapon. The jury were not satisfied that you had an intention to endanger your life. I will of course be wholly faithful to that verdict. But the evidence reveals in my judgment that you are cycling around streets of Liverpool with a loaded gun in your pocket. Having realised you were being followed by the police, I suspect that may not have been the first time you seem to know the identity of police officers. You went to your home, put your jacket on a worktop, and when police arrived a few minutes later, the gun was still in the pocket." Forensic scientists discovered Freeman's DNA on the Italian-made firearm when they examined the weapon. He skipped bail and fled the country, leading to his mum being charged with assisting an offender. Freeman of Penard Avenue, Huyton, would later claim the reason he headed to Spain was because he panicked. The fugitive was rearrested on March 7, 2016 after flying back to join John Lennon Airport and admitting possession of a firearm and ammunition. Francis Herzog, defending Freeman, said he was from a law-abiding family, regretted the offences, and at a sentence hearing that April, she said he accepts he has shown the gun, and he accepts he looked at it and handled it. He had no intention of doing anything with the gun, and it was not to be used by him. Miss Herzog explained Freeman had been staying and working with a relative in Spain. She said he spent the whole time looking over his shoulder, and he knew he could not stay forever. He then came back to face what he had to face. The court heard the gun had not been linked to any crimes in the UK, but Judge Haddon said it was a working firearm capable of causing death. Freeman was sentenced to 3 years and 5 months in a young offenders institution at the age of 21. He was then caught by police with a lock knife in Hillside Road, Huyton, in August 2019. However, Freeman had not been convicted of anything anywhere near as serious as what happened on May the 17th last year, when for reasons still unknown, he targeted Roberts at the Old Bank pub. Roberts is the older brother of killer gun thug Michael Roberts, jailed in 2019 for the fatal shooting of 17-year-old James Meadows, said to be a good friend of Rueben Murphy. CCTV footage showed Freeman approaching the pub in Princess Road on an electric bike, with his hood up and wearing a mask and gloves at around 8:20 p.m. His botched attack then unfolded. Even quick-thinking Roberts, 30, from Huyton, but now of Hayes Street, Everton, darted into the pub and hid behind the door. As Freeman came in after him, Roberts pounced and the two men wrestled over the weapon in the doorway, when it went off with 2 bullet fragments striking Roberts in the groin. But Roberts took control of the firearm as he and other drinkers kicked and stamped on Freeman. With the gunman now lying defenceless on the floor, Roberts racked the gun up, ejected misfired cartridge. The CCTV showed he then turned and shot his foe twice in the chest at point-blank range. After turning the tables on Freeman, Roberts fled with the gun on Freeman's electric bike. He was arrested later that evening after going to hospital for treatment. The gun was never found. Freeman admitted wounding with intent and possessing a firearm with intent to endanger life ahead of a trial earlier this year. When Roberts was convicted of the same charges, a jury cleared Rogers of the more serious attempted murder, but rejected his claims he acted in self-defence against the assassin. During that trial, David McLachlan QC, prosecuting, explained Freeman stumbled away from the pub, still being kicked at by a local. He made it to a house in Backwith Row where a friend called him ambulance. Police arrived and took body cam footage that showed Freeman with 2 bullet holes in his chest and blood pouring from his mouth. He also had a swollen and cut left eye from where he took a good kicking from Roberts and the unnamed drinkers. The gunman was taken to Aintree Hospital, where a CT scan revealed 2 bullets embedded in his chest, which surgeons decided were too dangerous to remove. It was his reward for bringing deadly violence to a packed pub on the day lockdown ended. Mr McLachlan told the jury the bullets were, and you will in fact hear, are still inside him to this day. One was lodged in his lung and another lodged near his heart. When it came to his sentencing, Freeman blamed his actions on PTSD from being stabbed as a teenager and taking a cocktail of prescription medicine on the day of the shooting. But a judge rejected the claim he made to a psychiatrist when he said, "I can't make any sense of it. I had no intention of harming anyone. They jumped on me." High Court Judge Mr Justice Martin Spencer also rubbished the bogus alibi that Freeman originally put forward as his defence. He's jailed him for 14.5 years with an extended 4 years on licence as a dangerous offender.